What's up, guys? Hey, John. Welcome back to the Build Show, sir. You're playing Fortnite right now, so you're not going to talk much. It's all good. Flow is epic. Welcome back to the Build Show, sir. Damn time. Welcome back to the Build Show, sir. Start. I'm starting. I'm a little slow today, so I do apologize. My voice is also very weak, so I also apologize about that. I am still under the weather. So, whatever this bug is, it's really attacked me. It hit us hard. Godzend, what's up, man? What we got going today? We've got... Oh, ads. Sorry, Mikey. Godzend, we've got this build that we're going to be doing here. Let me grab the build sheet. No, it's right here in front of me. Right here in front of me. But good evening, Mikey, and good evening, Godzend. Welcome to the Build Show. Flow is epic. My hard drive gave out. Got an SSD. Oh, that's crazy. Kenneth, welcome back to the Build Show. Jesse, welcome back to the Build Show. Okay, ads are over. Mikey, I just said, welcome back to the Build Show for you. You missed that. Well, that's terrible that the hard drive gave out, but I mean, those do go over time. Mikey, hey, good evening, Army Vet. Welcome back to the Build Show over there on the Twitch. Ben had to make a few changes to what we talked about last week. No worries. Not a problem at all. I know I sound like a crackly nerd that hasn't hit puberty yet, so bear with me here. Flow is epic. I think the ads were over on the Twitch side. Got to go with what I can afford. That totally makes sense. Yeah. Seasonal allergies? No, this is straight up some sort of bug that hit me hard, and I have been down the last day or so. The kids got it as well, so it's not been easy over here. It's been kind of like everybody's just laying around doing nothing, unfortunately. So, and it's even more unfortunate because we were actually not even supposed to be here today or yesterday. We were supposed to leave for the east side of the state for a wedding. My best friend's brother is getting married tomorrow. We were going to go over there early and hang out with them, and they have kids and we have kids, and they get they hang out. So usually it's a good time, but I just didn't want to, one, travel with all the kids being sick, and two, traveling like this sucks, and three, didn't want to obviously go there and get everybody sick. So we're hoping that we're better by tomorrow, or at least for the most part better, and we can still, at least one of us, make it to the wedding. I want to at least make it to the wedding. I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest. But that's, personal stuff, personal life crap that we're dealing with. Can't make it to a wedding because we have a bug. Oh boy. I mean, I feel bad, but would rather not. Yeah, it's Luke's wedding, Jesse. Yep. How'd you guess, Jesse? How'd you guess? I feel like you know him. So I might be actually driving out there tomorrow morning, as long as I'm feeling a little better. Girly girl number 1, which is aka Adrian, my oldest, she'll probably tag along with me because she's already on the mend fully pretty much today. For me, it's all this drainage in my face. It's just up here in my head. So I've been taking some stuff, and it's making me feel a little better. My voice is a lot better than what it was yesterday. So, all right, let's go through this build. It's enough talking about me and my problems. Let's talk about this build for Chuck. So Chuck reached out, and he's looking to do a very budget-friendly build. So he gave me a pretty tight budget of, we had about a $600 budget to work with, and this is what we came up with for the build. So we went with an AM4 CPU, which is a Ryzen 5 4500, 6 cores, 12 threads. So it is AIM-4, and we have the 4500 that we're going to be building with, which is a really nice AIM-5. I'm sorry, I keep saying AIM-5. That is how bad my head is. It's a really good Ryzen 5 CPU. Runs at 4.1 gigahertz on the max boost out of the box, along with those 6 cores and 12 threads. Next, we have a Thermalright Assassin X120 SE for the cooler, so we're not going to be using the stock air cooler, the AMD Stealth Wraith cooler that comes with it. We're going to be using the Assassin X120 refined SE ARGB cooler. It's got 4 heat pipes on it. It's a 120 millimeter fan, addressable RGB fan on the cooler as well, which it's a good size cooler for this CPU, especially since the CPU is only about a 60 watt CPU. It doesn't have a ton of TDP, so there's not a ton of power going through it. This cooler can definitely handle that. Next is, we originally quoted him an Asus TUF Gaming A520 motherboard, but I was able to get a B550M Pro VDH by MSI, which is a much better motherboard and will set him up for better future upgrades in the future, because he can get PCIe 4.0, whereas the A520 does not have PCIe 4.0 support. So if he upgrades the processor, he would unlock the PCIe 4.0 support on this board. The SSD we're going with is a MP44L. It's a 1 terabyte M.2 NVMe SSD. It is a Gen 4 SSD, though we I don't know where that bug came from. Get rid of it. Though the CPU doesn't support it, the idea of the system is that he's going to upgrade and eventually have that PCIe 4.0 support. So next up is a 16 gig kit of RAM. So we are going to start with 16 gigs. This is 2 8 gig sticks, total of 16. It's DDR4, 3200 megahertz. It's by Silicon Power. You guys have seen me use that before. And then the graphics card, which is a GeForce GTX 1660 Super. We originally quoted a 1660 non-super, but we did get the Super from Zotac. This is actually a component that came from Zotac directly, so the packaging actually wasn't included when we bought it, how we bought it. When I say packaging, the original box that these would normally come in. So Antec NX500M is going to be for the case, which is a micro ATX tower, and then we have a 500 watt 80 plus bronze power supply. So very budget friendly build that you can do. This is a $600 build that we're building with all new components here to assemble the PC. Seasonal allergies. No, yeah, thanks, RBVet. Got to go with what I can afford. Yeah, Mike, yeah, I think we already touched that. But I am definitely going with your build. I erased all the other PCs I had lined up on a favorite list. Oh, nice. I feel honored to be the only one on that list. I'm getting Ryzen 7 7700X, 128 gigabytes of RAM, 2 or 3 terabyte RTX 4070, or a 5070 depending on the GPU market, Aqua Elite AIO. So with 128 gigs of RAM, Seeker, I would comment, be careful on doing 128 gigs of RAM with DDR5. It doesn't typically work when you use 4 sticks of DDR5. It doesn't work very well. It likes to have stability issues when you're running 4 sticks. Thanks for the BIOS update, Ben. Yeah, no problem, Kenneth. I hope that that game's not popping up that that reminder anymore. It'll be in the next 2 weeks, hopefully. I'm praying, LOL. Yeah, no worries, man. It's good timing. I've got some downtime right now. Matter of fact, one of my friends' name is Charlie, but we call him Chuckman. Oh, that's interesting. Is this the same Chuck? I don't know. But going back to your build, Seeker, Be careful while running 4 sticks. I need it for game dev and animation reasons, but I will be careful. Make sure if you're going to buy 4 sticks that it is on the QVL list of the motherboard manufacturer, because if it is not, then there is a very high possibility that you're going to run into stability issues when you're trying to run the actual speed of the RAM. So for example, if you purchase a DDR5 that is 6,000 megahertz, or that's what it's advertised as, and you plug it in and then you try to run it at 6,000, all 4 sticks, it may not actually post after that. Or it may post and then give you blue screen issues and have a lot of stability problems. DDR5 is known for having issues when running 4 sticks. It's just been an issue for a long time, since DDR5 came out. It's never worked right, 4 sticks. So the workaround is to actually run a 2-stick kit, which is 48 gigs each, and it's a 96 gig kit with 2 sticks of RAM. That is the workaround. So in reality, technically, we see DDR5 as a maximum of 96 gigs as a PC builder. So if somebody comes to me and says I want 128 gigs of RAM, I pump the brakes and say, hey, actually we can only do 96 on DDR5. That is the limitation for the better experience. It's simply because of the maturity of DDR5, and for some reason when you're running 4 sticks, it is very unstable. Which I had actually commented on a customer's build. I was servicing. It wasn't a build, it was a PC. I always call them builds, but it was a PC manufactured by Dell, which was an Alienware PC that I was servicing. I was upgrading the RAM on it, and I had mentioned that the Dell manufactured motherboard on a DDR5 board only has 2 slots. It doesn't even give the customer the option of putting 4 sticks in it, which I thought was crazy. And it was a very expensive build, or PC. It wasn't a cheap motherboard from Dell, although it was a Dell specific. 96 works too. Yeah, I think that is going to be the maximum. The only way you're going to get to more RAM is by going up to a Threadripper platform, unfortunately. And we just did a Threadripper build actually a couple of weeks ago, or a week or so ago. Actually, it might have been 2 weeks ago now, where we had 256 gigs of RAM in it. So you can definitely go into that higher mark with RAM. Just for some reason on the AM5 platform and Intel platforms, they just don't like to run 4 sticks. Alienware, yuck. I know, but I mean, I still service them if they bring them to me, ask for help. So, Ant-Man, the build is actually incorrect. This is not the right information. I told you guys I'm under the weather. I am being very lazy, and I did not update the exclamation point build. That was the last build that we did, which was technically Friday last week, or Saturday last weekend. So, ignore that. That is not correct. Doom, the Dark Ages will let you know if your BIOS is outdated. Yeah, that's a lot of titles do that actually now. Normally do Part Picker for all of my parts, but I know that's not always right. Yeah, PC Part Pickers is nice, but it won't tell you the details like I just told you. Simply, hey, go with 2 sticks, don't go with 4 sticks. Also check the QVL list from the motherboard manufacturer to make sure the kit you're selecting is on the list, or select a kit from the QVL list. Just simply copy the model number of the kit that's listed and then paste it into Amazon or Newegg or whatever, and you should find it. And that's how you should be buying the RAM for DDR5, especially when you're buying that much RAM. You want to make sure it's the right RAM. What's the case? The case is a Antec. It's by Antec. It's an Antec NX500M that we're going to be building with tonight. got third. Nice, John. Nice. Ben, please do a Doom stream on Ultra Nightmare. You guys want to see me fall out of the seat? I wouldn't even be able to scream right now, so it would be a terrible time to do that. Do you think I should go for a better motherboard? It's an MSI B650 Plus Gaming now. No, the motherboard isn't going to make a difference there for the RAM. It's not the RAM, it's the platform. And when I say the platform, I mean DDR5. It's been an SHIT show since DDR5 came out. It's gotten better over time. I will say that. As more and more support comes out with the BIOS, with it being, with newer hardware, the support has been better. So originally when DDR5 first came out on an AM5 board, there was like 2 kits of RAM that actually worked, and the rest of them didn't work perfectly, and it was all sorts of created all sorts of headaches. That was DDR5 when it first came out. It was a headache. So you couldn't just go out and buy whatever DDR5 RAM you wanted and plug it into whatever motherboard you want, like with DDR4 you can. DDR5, you had to buy specifically what was listed on the QVL list, and it's still technically the same thing today, but it's a lot better, meaning most RAM will work on most systems, including AMD Expo RAM will work with Intel, and Intel XMP RAM will work with AMD now, whereas before it wasn't. And there were a lot of issues. A lot of people had issues posting. For example, when we originally built the PC first with DDR5, it would take minutes for the first post. I'm talking like up to 120 seconds, maybe even longer before the post actually happened. So a lot of people were confused. They're like, hey, why isn't my PC post? And we're like, in the support sections of threads, we're like, hey, give it like 2 to 5 minutes and see if it posts. And then people are like, holy crap, it posted. And it's because the memory training just was taking that long on DDR5 for it to actually before it could post. Now that all the RAM has been released and all the motherboard manufacturers have their BIOS updated to support the majority of the RAM, they have the profiles for the RAM already built in, and basically everything kind of knows what everything is. So once you plug a kit into the motherboard and you fire it up, it doesn't have to sit there and do memory training as long as it used to. Onra, welcome back to the build show. Ignore the inventory build number 53 from the exclamation point build. It is incorrect. Damn it. I need to fix that. I was being lazy and decided, or didn't think of it. I don't know. I'm still a little foggy today, so I apologize. I did not update that. We'll have it updated for sure for the next build. I'm just certain AMD 800 series motherboards can support DDR5 8000 higher end ones. Yeah, some can. So some motherboards will make a difference if you're trying to get to those speeds. It's all good, Ben. You're still sick. No apologies. Yeah, as soon as I read 7800X3D, I knew it isn't. Don't worry. Sorry about that, Audra. Ben, can you explain why a BIOS update is important? So, typically, as a PC enthusiast / builder, I tell people, don't worry about the BIOS update unless you're actually changing hardware, or unless your manufacturer reaches out and says you should, or if you're following your BIOS notes. So that's typically what we say, is don't worry about the BIOS update if everything's running fine. But in recent years, or last year specifically, thank you Intel, Intel had a lot of issues with their CPUs, which made it pretty much a requirement to update your BIOS if you had an Intel CPU. So I've kind of changed my opinion on that, and basically, if you built your PC, you should definitely be following your motherboard manufacturer support page and reading the notes on the releases for the BIOS updates. If there's anything that's specific to enhance your CPU life, then you should definitely do that. But listening to other YouTubers out there, they'll tell you, you know, other people in the industry will tell you, one, it's very important to actually update, but I try to tell everybody, like last year I was trying to tell everybody to make sure you update your BIOS for the 13th and 14th gen CPUs, if you haven't already. Those updates for the 13th and 14th generation Intel CPUs are very important. AMD, they're pretty important as well, especially now that we're getting into generational, different generations of the AM5 socket. So when I say the socket, I mean CPUs. Sorry. Again, I'm still a little foggy. So we have 7000 series, and then we have the 9000 series out now, plus an 8000 series in between, and all these different versions. So if you are going to do an upgrade from a B650, which was out before the 9800 X3D as an example was out, and you're planning to put a 9800 X3D on that motherboard, you should do a BIOS update before you put that CPU in. So let's say you started out with a Ryzen 7 or Ryzen 5 7600 on a B650 and you want to upgrade to the 9800 X3D, you could definitely do that. I would suggest, though, before you update your CPU, always update your BIOS. And that's for any platform. But the reason why is because the motherboard was released prior to that CPU being released, so the motherboard may not know what that CPU is without doing the BIOS update. It may not recognize the CPU. It may just sit there and be like, But the beauty of most of our motherboards today, they come, almost all of them now, come with the QFlash feature, which is you could just put the BIOS file on a flash drive, plug it into your motherboard, and you technically don't even need a CPU in your socket to do the BIOS update. And so you just plug it in, push the QFlash button, and it flashes the BIOS, and you should be good to go. Whereas before, previously in the past, you used to have to get a older CPU, put it in the socket, just to get the motherboard to post, to get into the BIOS, and then do the BIOS update, shut it down, pull the old CPU up, put the new CPU back in. It was a bigger nightmare. So that feature is a really nice feature, especially if you're dealing with newer hardware or newer hardware on older motherboards. And break, be right back. Okay, back. Sorry, Mikey. Mikey, if you have a Amazon account, Prime, you should actually be able to retrieve a Prime sub, and you can put it on the channel, and it'll stop the ads for you. Okay, now I got 22nd, but 6K. Nice, John. 6Ks. You got me to silver. Nice. I'm not that good at Fortnite, lol. I'm not very good at Fortnite either. Not yet, once I get my stuff from them. Nice. Okay. So I hope that answers everybody's questions for now. Let's go ahead and start the build. I hope Chuck was able to join us. I did send a pretty late email to him letting him know that we're doing the build, because I wasn't actually sure if I was going to be streaming tonight or not. Nah, ads are okay. It helps you. It doesn't matter. The ads are... Excuse me. Try to mute that. Nice. Nice, John. Alright, so let's go ahead and start the build. So I did change the audio. How does my microphone sound compared to other past streams? Does it sound a little more clear? Can you hear the weakness in my voice? Sounds good. Yeah, somebody had mentioned that it sounded crackly, and didn't know it was doing that until later when I was looking at some of the videos. I'm like, oh, it definitely is crackly. I sound like a teen. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I feel very old right now. I've got a man cold. Pretty bad. All right, let's get started with this build, guys. So, we just moved two components, and now this is everything we're going to assemble now, which you can see on these budget type builds that we do, it is a very simple build. So basically, we're building everything onto the motherboard, putting the motherboard into the case, putting the power supply and the graphics card in, and bam, it's done. So there's not a whole lot to it. It's actually a very simple build to do. Morgan Freeman when he said, when he has a cold. Nice. Are you saying I sound like Morgan Freeman when he has a cold? I don't think I've ever been told that before. Oh, this is not allergies, man. I wish I had allergies. I could deal with that. Cold, however. Bug. I hate. I hate bugs. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start by dropping our Ryzen 5 4500 into the aim-4 socket. We lift the hammer. And then one of the important things is lining up our gold triangle, which is going to be in the top corner here, to this corner here. And that is how you know you're putting the CPU in the correct direction. Always look for the gold triangle. Next, we're going to install our RAM, which is a 16 gigabyte kit by Silicon Power. And this hard pack casing, which is typically a pain in the ass to open. Actually, you do, or do you think Morgan's voice gets deeper or lighter when he's... I think it gets lighter? I don't know. Hammer time. For the CPU or for opening the package? Allergies have the same, you know, experience as a cold, but the drainage, I think, gets really annoying with allergies, for sure. Gets old. Yeah, I don't typically experience too much allergy issues. Sometimes I do, but pretty rare. Alright, we're going to be placing that in slots A2 and B2 on the motherboard. If you were curious which slots to use, A2, B2 would be the first slots to use, the first kit, and then the second kit would be A1 and B1. And typically you don't want to mix match RAM brands and speeds. You want to try to have all the same for stability. Although you can do it, and it does work. Specifically, don't do that with DDR5. You can get away with it on DDR4 because it's more compatible. Alright, let's go ahead and pop this heat spreader off. Or heatsink. Whatever you want to call this. Oh, nice. Need to remove the center stud that does not belong there. We don't want it touching the back of the SSD. And then we peel the peel on the thermal pad underneath and line it all up. and put the screws back in. Now, some other ones will have a small M.2 screw if your SSD isn't the full length of your heatsink. You might have to use that stud and use an M.2 screw, which are typically included with your motherboard. Alright, next I'm going to remove the brackets here on the motherboard because these are not going to be used for the cooler. We actually need to put the mounting brackets for the cooler in instead of these there. So we have to remove these. But these do go with the PC, so if he ever does buy a cooler that does require these, he'll have them. And our cooler is going to be the Assassin X120 Refined SE Addressable RGB by Thermalright. Tower air cooler. Owner on this board rules price, performance, and aim for is godlike. Yes, it's one of the best boards you can get for the price. The next one up is going to be the Gigabyte Aorus Elite B550 Aorus Elite AX. That one comes in about $30 more, but it's a full ATX, or not full. It's an ATX motherboard, so it's a little larger, so you wouldn't be able to put it in a micro ATX case. That's the downside to it if you are trying to stay within a budget. But that is a nice board as well. I think Gigabyte has another one out there as well that's a little bit more budget friendly. Aim for used to be go with a Gigabyte DS Gigabyte B450 DS3H Wi-Fi. That would have been the budget board, but now that we're in a time where PCIe 4.0 really should be in your PC, it's support behind it anyway, we go with the B550 now. Sets up for better future upgrades. Really, the most important thing for PCIe 4.0 is the storage. That's where it's really helping. Not a huge difference with the graphics card, unless you're running like a RX 6500. The RX 6500, basically, if you're not running it on PCIe 4.0, it's not worth even running the card in general, because it needs the bandwidth. Always make sure you peel the peel on the bottom of your heatsink. If you leave that on, you're going to have terrible temps. And then next, we're just going to apply our thermal paste, which is TF4 by Thermalright. That's included with the cooler. Fellowship. Welcome back to the Build Show. Steve Anderson, welcome back to the Build Show. The exclamation point build spit out from Streamlabs is incorrect. We are not doing a 7800X 3D build. We are doing a Ryzen 5 4500 to upgrade later, yes. That is correct, Fellowship. Mikey, yes, it does. Just can't stand it. The watery, itchy eyes. Yes. Yeah, that gets old. Missed some strats here. So, Seeker, with the CPU, do you just gently press it down, or will it stay like that? So, when you lift the hammer up and drop the CPU in, it basically just falls into the socket. You should feel it just fall in. And then you drop the hammer, or close the hammer. I call it hammer time. I guess that's where the reference came from. Drop the arm back down, and it will lock it into position. If you take the motherboard while it's in its socket and flip it upside down, it's not going to fall out. It's actually being held in by that arm mechanism. Like pressing the CPU into the motherboard. So with AIM-5 though, Seeker, it's a different socket type. So the pins are actually on the motherboard and the CPU has no pins. So it is a LGA socket is what we call that, where the pins are on the motherboard, no pins on the CPU. I mean, there are plates on the CPU for the pins, but if you put that in there without closing it, yes, the CPU will fall out of the socket, and most likely you'll damage pins on the motherboard as well while you're doing that. So don't do that. Be careful with the LGA socket. I have mismatched RAM DDR4 in my laptop. I mean, like I said, you could get away with it, and with DDR4, it's mostly compatible. And good evening, Steve Anderson. Welcome to the Build Show, sir. Hell yeah. Is something like resizable bar CPU bound like Gen 3, Gen 4 lanes, or does that come down to chipset, motherboard, and more? I can't remember if that is related. I thought it had to be PCIe Gen 4 for resizable bar, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong. Which then does mean you have to have a specific chipset or CPU combination to make PCIe 4.0 work to get resizable bar. But I thought that was available in PCIe 4.0. So this motherboard would have it if we upgrade the CPU from the 4500 that's in here that only supports PCIe Gen 3 to, say, a 5600 that would support PCIe 4.0. Anarchy over on the Kick. Sorry, had to restart PC. No worries, man. No worries. Over there on the Kick side. We don't get very many people over there. All right, let's go ahead and put the fan on, and we can then break the case out. I've actually already opened up the case because when we received it, there was a lot of rattling. So I opened it up and took a look at it to make sure there was no damage. It was actually the screws broke out of the bag and was rattling around inside the case. So I already opened it up. Just an FYI. It'll be a pretty simple open. Already open. Alright, so these clips, they can be a little tricky, but basically, you see that lip, we're just going to put it in the hole like that, and same with the top one, like so. And then I always do it so that the cable is on the bottom side of the fan, so it's not at the top side, because if you put it in like this, and the cable's at the top, we have a cable running around here at the top, and it's going to look like garbage. So we want it facing downwards towards the top so we could run it to the back of the case through the holes on the top of the case. Try to downward top of the board. Like this. you should see something like that, where the cables come off the bottom of the fan down here. And then we could simply just plug the PWM connection into your CPU fan header. Could be right there, or somewhere in that area. Next, I'm just going to zip tie this up a little bit. I rotated the board, so now we're upside down. So now that that is done, it's going to be nice and clean. And we should be able to just easily drop this into the case. So we'll zoom out. Just so Tat can see Steve. Tat, Tuna likes to call that stain right there, because I had a CPU block land on it with some thermal paste still on it. And it's basically stained there. I can't get that out. So he has named it Steve. Alright, so this is the Antec NX 500. M. Got a nice mesh front panel. Although I don't know how impressive the mesh is, actually. One thing I would call out is they put the USB-C on this front panel, and while I was checking things out, if you take this off, you actually have a cable going to the front of the panel. And the reason why I think they did that, I'm actually not impressed with this mesh at all. I don't know why they did the mesh the way they did it. It would have been extremely expensive for them to do the way that they did it, to cut it all out the way they did it. And I mean, I guess it helps block more dust or catch more dust, but man, does that restrict airflow. Okay, another thing is the USB-C was an afterthought for this case, obviously, because it wouldn't have been here. It would have been with everything else, which is at the top of the case. And the reason why they did this is because it's cheaper to cut the plastic for the mold and then just place it in there than it would have been to cut the case and mount it there. So that is why that happened. But you have USB-C, which is there just on the front plastic panel. Not a big fan of that. That is just a cheap tactic by Antec to modernize maybe an older chassis, or a part of an older chassis. But the rest of the case I'm actually impressed with. So the top panel, or the top portion, supports a 240mm AIO. If you wanted to install one there, you could. There's enough of a gap here from the top of this fan to the top of the ceiling of the case, where you could definitely install a 240mm at the top of the case, which is really nice. I do like that. The bottom, there's no ventilation down here. Not a big fan of that. Would have liked to see some sort of ventilation down here. But I mean, it's not that big of a deal in a budget style case. The backside, these are all push outs, which I mean typically will happen. How are they coming in? Sorry, I just had to go shut the door. So these are all push outs, which is okay. I mean, they do give you some, I think. Yeah. They do give you some here. for the case to replace if you push these out and then need to fill them in again. Let's go ahead and open this up. I guess you can call this a quick review of the case. Tempered glass is mounted on the back with 2 thumb screws as well as the backside panel. So they're mounted to the back and they screw into the back. Not that big of a deal to me. I don't really care too much about that. The ARGB system on these included fans is we have 1 sync cable coming off these back fans. The rest of them are connected via a specific connector from Arctic, which requires a SATA to run it. So these are not PWM fans, which sucks. So that means you can't control the speed of the fans. You're only able to synchronize the ARGB from the ARGB header, which is okay for a budget case. Would have liked to see some better fans in here, and also would have liked to see some better ventilation on the front. Would have liked to also see that this USB-C was up here with the rest of everything on your front panel versus down here for some reason. It also makes taking the front panel off and cleaning it a pain in the butt because you have that USB-C stuck to it. So if I just want to take the front panel off, take it outside and blow it, I can't do that. So, not a fan of that design by Arctic. But that is definitely them taking an older style chassis and putting new life into it, extending the life of it by adding USB-C, which is a newer, more modern feature. And also, it looks like this was previously a shorter chassis, and they just extended the height of the chassis, of an older chassis, to fit a AIO at the top. So that's pretty much what happened here. So my GPU is causing issues. Not sure what is up with it. Speaking of, I do need to get my son a 5600X or better. My GPU is causing issues. Oh, what's it doing, Anarchy? Anarchist. Oh, WickFams, what's up? Hold on, it looks like we had a whole bunch of comments here. I'm just reading through them. Yes, it is a must practice good cable management so our builds don't look like butt cheeks. Nice. Onra is impressive how many cases Antec has. Maybe the company with more cases on the market all the way at the bottom with some really cheap to some top quality cases. Yeah, it's just putting that USB-C is like the big meh for me on the front panel. I don't know why they did that, other than they took a older chassis and breathed new life into it by adding that feature, which is cool. I do like to see that because it saves them cost of manufacturing, just adding something to an existing chassis. But where they put it though is kind of in a dumb spot. I would have maybe spent the extra money and made sure it got up here somehow. Oh, thank you for subscribing, Sleeper Cop. Welcome to the build show. WickFams, seeing you build in a lot of those chamber cases makes me want to recase my PC. Those cases make my case look like trash. Nah. They're just a new modern style case. This is more of a traditional tower that we're building in today. Micro ATX, Anarchist, Healing. Okay, I finally got my GPU reset up. So if you ever get a 5600X and that is sued. Anarchist just subscribes. Oh, thank you, Anarchist over there on the Twitch. Thank you for the sub. If you ever get a 5600X that is sued, I don't know what you mean by sued. Used, maybe? Want to work out a deal? Let me know. Oh, used, I think is what you meant. Sorry, I'm a little slow being under the weather. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I gotta love that. LOL. It was the driver is all. Yes, I know. Used. Gotcha. Hey. Yeah, and thank you for the sub over there on Twitch. Much appreciated. Sorry, a little slow. My brain can't process everything that's happening. Okay, so pretty much that's the review. We don't have much of anything else to talk about with this case. There's no PWM fans. Fans use SATA power, which is disappointing. I mean, I kind of knew that going into this. We have a LED button that can control the RGB, which is cool if you are building in a with a motherboard that doesn't have an ARGB header. Looks like you can control it from a front panel button here, which I assume is this reset button or LED button. And then you have your typical USB-C, USB 3, HD audio, USB 2.0, and then our normal front panel connectors here. So, reset button is your RGB button. Alright, so with that review, we also have, it looks like, 2.5-inch mounts here on the back, as well as a hard drive cage, which can support 2 3.5-inch or a couple of 2.5-inch drives down there. Power supply basement is pretty small. They don't expect to put a ton of cables down there. And there's a good amount of space here for airflow. If you wanted to get a fan down here, you could do something like that. All right, that's your basic review of the case. Is it something I would use again in the future for budgets? Maybe. But if there's something better out there on the market, I would totally go with something better at the same price point. I guess is what I'm saying. And I think this case came in at like $50-something, so hard to complain when it's within that budget. Alright, so let's try to make this look as nice as possible. Let's build it. I'm just messing with your mind typing on all platforms. No, I did put it together here on Kick, Twitch, and YouTube. Thankfully, you have a pretty relatively close name on all. Not the same name. It makes it a little easier. Some people go from, Twitch to Kick to YouTube, and they all have different names on all the platforms, and then they show up in Discord and they're like, "Hey, it's me. I was talking to you on YouTube," and I'm like, "I had no idea that was you." Sometimes that happens. So, we do need to add some studs here for the micro ATX motherboard that we're putting in. Hopefully those are included here and didn't get lost flapping around. Mike hates me. I'm assuming you're Mikey Mike. Not Mike. Mm-hmm. LOL. All right. So another thing that'll happen with budget builds is you have to put all your studs in. I should say with budget cases, not budget builds. But it is important to make sure you have all your studs on the board or on the case in the right position for your board. Because if you don't and you have one in the back that's touching the back of the motherboard where it shouldn't be touching, it can actually cause problems. It can cause shorts, cause all sorts of problems actually. So never leave a stud back there that doesn't belong. Because if it's touching a solder point, for example, and touching another solder point, it could be bridging and causing, it could actually burn out your motherboard. So don't ever leave it a stud back there that doesn't belong. Always remove it if you need to, and make sure you put in all the right ones for the right point mounting points of your board. The importance of these studs in your case. I've seen it before with people leaving studs in the back, and you know, they did their build for the first time, they brought it to me and they're like, hey, I don't know why it just keeps turning off. Take it apart and we find out actually there's a stud in the back touching the back of the motherboard, and that was causing it to shut off. Nope. This is why I'm not building my own. I'm leaving it to the professional. Not that hard. You see a piece of metal touching an electronic on the backside, you should definitely take care of it. Alright, so all of our front panels are connected. Lots of routing points in this case, which is really nice. I do say that's nice. So we were able to route our USB-C nicely, our USB 3 nicely, and all of our bottom connections and top all very nicely. I did zip tie the top, the rear fan here, just because it's a little sloppy with all the extra cables coming off of it. Let me trim those. Then we should be able to easily cable manage that later. There we go. It's starting to come together and look like a PC. Slowly, but surely. So we can actually drop the card in here. It's going to go pretty quick from here on. Very easy to remove these, which is nice versus some other cases, which sit there and you fight. Wick fams, I ended up finding a 7900 XTX on Amazon for $1,094. Nice. So I'm going to order that since my birthday is next month. I'm going to call it Treating Myself. You should treat yourself at least once a year. That way. As many build streams I've watched, I can build my own. The wires will confuse me. Really, when it comes down to the wires, if you're confused about them, the motherboard manual will show you where everything goes. So if you follow the motherboard manual, you can definitely get it all plugged in. Gonna be my first AMD card. I've only had NVIDIA, so if you're swapping from an NVIDIA card to AMD, just remember before you put your new card in, before you shut it down to put your new card in, run DDU, Display Driver Uninstaller, and then reboot the system or shut the system down, put the new card in, and then install the AMD drivers. What that'll do is remove all of those NVIDIA drivers, so it's a clean install for your AMD drivers. So that'll help you avoid any possible driver conflicts. Wipe the drivers, yep, with Display Driver Uninstaller, DDU. That makes it super easy to do it, because you just run DDU, and if you have any questions while running that, feel free to hit me up and let me know, and I can just walk you through it. It's very easy. I'll have some peels on this card. Peel off. I didn't see these peels earlier, and I got them all. That's that one too. There we go. Here's our GeForce GTX 1660 Super. Ooh. And we're going to move on to the power supply. Then again, the daisy chain will confuse me. Oh, it's not that bad. It's like making one of those apple centipedes that, what was it? South Park made fun of. Well, thank you for the follow. That Agoni True. And thank you for the sub as well. Much appreciated. Weird install for the power supply. Okay, so now that we've got the power supply mounted, we can run our cables where they need to go. So, 24 pin specifically to go up here. I'm gonna push all these cables up like this, go up and around, not hanging around these holes. So I'm gonna put my 24 pin underneath that. And then our CPU, I believe is this guy, run around every single cable here and go up this top corner. And just push it through because we're going to flip it around and plug everything in. And then last is our PCIe connection for our graphics card. We're just going to run that here through the bottom hole. I believe that'll fit. Had to take a little bit of convincing. And then we flipped the computer over and we could get everything plugged in. A 24 pin, for example. A PCIe cable for our graphics card here. And twist it. Done. Nobody likes twisted cables. Looks like trash. And then last but not least, our CPU. All right, there we go. Got all of our cables plugged in, their respected locations, and it looks pretty nice and clean as it is. All we got to do is button this up on the back side and we're good to go. It always looks like a disaster when you first flip it over, but this one actually really makes sense. It's super easy. So all the cables at the top here come together right now over me. Yes, that was a song. So it makes it super easy. Zip tie these up here at the top. I almost don't want to zip tie the ZSPC, actually. I'm going to. If we ever had to take that front panel off, you'll have to clip these. And then I'm going to route this rear fan this direction as well. And we've got this main harness here, which is going downwards towards the bottom of the chassis. Main run. And then we're going to bundle up these SATA cables because we still have to plug in our SATA RGB for the fans. I'm running out of zip ties here. I got more, don't worry. I saw you worried there. Okay, I learn with new every time I watch. I learn the new thing. I don't know. I'm always learning something new every time I build. I don't know. There we go. Let's see here. Yeah, thanks. Gonna do that, Wick Fams. Yeah, but yeah, I normally do like one big purchase of a year for my birthday, maybe one for Xmas. Last Xmas, I bought my 34-inch 4K monitor. Nice. I prefer watching on YouTube because I've always had issues with buffering for Twitch streams. Yeah, no worries. YouTube, Twitch, doesn't matter to me. Doom is insane. What's a good budget 1080p and card with more 8GB of VRAM to go with the 5700G? A good budget 1080p card that'll run with the 5700G, like extreme budget, you know, would be like a AMD RX 5700 XT. That's an 8GB card that would be very budget friendly. You should be able to find it for about $120 on the used market. They aren't going to be found new, or if they are, they're going to be ridiculously priced. So used market is about the only place you're going to find it. But for the price at $120, that card will perform, and in some cases perform in 1440p. The next card, if you want something brand new in 1080p that'll perform for you, is actually the Intel cards. Either the B570 or the B580. Both of those are great options as well. And then if you want something on the NVIDIA family, if you're looking at NVIDIA, or if you look at new, let's say newer AMD, the AMD RX 6600 would be a good 8GB budget card. The 6600 or the 7600, those are both great 1080p cards. It'll literally run anything you throw at it and would pair well with the 5700G. Next would be in the NVIDIA family, obviously the RTX 3050, which is going to be an 8GB card for budget, and or the RTX 3060 12GB card or the RTX 4060. But those are going to be your more expensive options. What, me worry? Oh well. I meant with more the 8 gigs of VRAM. All of those have 8 gigs of VRAM. Eight gigs or more. I mean, the 3060 has 12 gigs. The B570 I think has what, 10 gigs, and then the B580 has 12 for the Intel family, and then those AMD cards are all 8 gig cards. That's pretty much it. Everything else is going to be 8 gig. Then if you're looking for something more, then, you know, like the 6800 XT or the 6700 XT, which are 12 and 16 gigs. Those would be good options as well. But more expensive, obviously. And I think your 5700G would be getting capped out there. I don't think it would run a 6700 XT at its maximum. I saw on Amazon today a 5060 Ti for $479. Yeah, but I don't know if I'm all that into the 5060 Ti, to be honest with you, whereas you can get a 7800 XT for the same price, and that will run circles around the 5060 Ti. Right? Is it just me, or is that a stupid price for a 5060 Ti? When you can almost buy a 7800 XT for that, for a little bit more, and it will run literal circles around that card. What I don't understand about NVIDIA right now, that they put these cards out, competitors, AMD, when it comes to their previous generation. What's good, all? What's up, Roy? Welcome back to the Build Show. Dang, Ben, late stream tonight. I know, sorry. I'm feeling under the weather still too, to top it all off. So supposed to be a quick stream, but here I am, still streaming. Good, good, good. There's way more ties than I should have in this build. But there you go. Nice, clean cable management. Don't like that. What's one more zip tie, guys? Yeah? Also, Roy, this is why we call it the late night build show. Or at least I used to call it the late night build show. What does DLSS and FrameGen do? Does it produce fake frames help the GPU usage? So it's not GPU usage. It's gonna be it's AI adjusting the quality of the game lifetime, the quality, while you're using it or while you're gaming. So to maintain a steady frame rate or a specific frame rate is basically what it's doing. So it's making these fake frames that everybody's talking about by just lowering the quality of your game, technically, in specific areas. So I'm not a big fan of the DLSS because it's not raw power. The raw power, you know, I'm totally the dark side, I'm sorry. But the raw power of a graphics card where, you know, you used to be able to flex when you turn on anti-aliasing in like Far Cry or what's the other one? Damn, I'm drawing a blank on all my games right now. Raw power. Yes. Fake frames suck. I want to make a shirt that says that now. We're going to be making a shirt that says fake frames suck. Interesting. Yeah, no, if it's available, you may as well use it, and it's going to work great. It does help performance. Can't deny that. All right. I'm gonna put this lid on. I see a couple things that I don't like. Dang it. Why didn't I see those before I put the lid? What I said, good, Ben? What'd you say above? Oh, so I decided that the Ryzen 7 7700X and the Radeon RX 9070 XT should be okay, I think. Yes. Yeah, that's a great option. And then you could always upgrade later if you wanted to. This little baggie has a hole. We're going to yeah, that'll definitely do it. I plan on keeping it for a long time, just make upgrades gradually. Yeah, you could definitely, because the AM5 platform is going to be around for a long time, and that's a solid card, so you'll be able to enjoy that system for quite a while and continue upgrading it. We like it raw, LMAO. Thanks, Obra. It's not only you, super stupid price for the 5060 Ti. Literally, in my country, the 5060 Ti is selling for $600 US, and the 7800 XT is about $550 US. Yeah, that's dumb. I mean, go buy the 7800 XT, and you'll probably run circles around the 5060 Ti and have the same VRAM. Makes no sense why NVIDIA is selling it for that much when you can buy a 7800 XT. Alright. Let's get it switched over to the side view here. Hello. Fingerprints on it, too. Alright. I don't know if Chuck's actually here or not, but we're going to go ahead and fire this up in honor of Chuck. So in 3... Or do you guys want to... Who wants to tell me to fire this thing up? You tell me. First one goes. Should be drinking them. Fired Up by Mikey Mike over on the Twitch. Hit it. Oh, up north. That is Chuck. I'm sorry, Chuck. Man, that's the first time I saw you chat. Well, Chuck, we fired it up in honor of you. Joined about halfway through. Nice. Well, we just pushed the power button, and we are looking at a possible post. Baby? Yes. We've got a post. Looks great, Ben. Hope you get and feel better, buddy. Thank you, Roy. I am hoping so. Not a bad system, adds LOL. Sorry, Mikey. Thanks. Appreciate the attention to detail. Always. We do that here all the time. Let me sync these up to the motherboard. There we go. So we got a post. So next we have to install Windows, do all the driver updates, the BIOS update, set the XMP profile, and then run some benchmarks and tests. Then we should have it ready to go. So to be honest, Chuck, it probably won't be ready for pickup. Right? Yeah, this one for pickup. Yes. Probably won't be ready for pickup until Monday. But if I do get a chance to have it ready for you on Sunday, I will let you know. I'll give you a call and make sure you're aware that it is ready for pickup if I'm available over on Sunday, because I'm supposed to stop in over at my grandpa's house and help him with his lawn. So he's getting up there in age and needs a lot of help right now, so I've been helping him out a lot this year. So hopefully we can get this across the finish line for you over the weekend. I am going to go to that wedding possibly tomorrow. Hopefully survive that, and then which is probably going to be an all-day event, so we won't have a build stream tomorrow and Saturday, so that means I won't be able to finish this unless I finish it tonight and have it ready for pickup tomorrow. But I can't guarantee somebody will be here for pickup tomorrow. No rush. So I'll have it ready for pickup no later than Monday. It will be ready then. Open bar will make you feel better. Well, if I'm driving 3 hours to that side of the state and then having to drive 3 hours back that same day, that's 6 hours in the car in one day. I don't think I'm going to do a lot of drinking if I'm driving back. I'm a big no drinking and driving guy. Muskegon. So I'm driving from Lake Orion to Muskegon tomorrow morning. Nice build, Ben. Thank you, Jesse. Chuck, just have Uber deliver it. No, Ant-Man. Let's not talk about that. We keep bringing up old wounds. Hey, yo. So my best friend's younger brother is getting married tomorrow, and that's over on the other side of the state. And I was actually supposed to go out there Thursday, and we were supposed to be out there a couple days early, and we were going to bring the RV and hang out with everybody there a couple days ahead of time, and we were going to make it a whole weekend thing. And that ended up not happening because we all got sick, and I didn't want to travel with sick kids, didn't want to expose everybody to whatever bug we have, and so trying to minimize what I can without being a complete asshole. I don't know. There's only so much I could do. I don't want to get everybody sick, and I feel like crap, so sitting in a car right now does not sound very pleasant. Normally I'm all for driving and going on adventures, but when your back hurts after like 2 minutes of one position, it's like, holy crap, what is wrong with me? Can you do an RV tour? Sure. Yeah, I could probably post an RV tour for members. No, I'm just kidding. I could post an RV tour or something like that. Nothing super special. It's just a used RV that we bought for the family because we were sick of tenting it. And now when we go over to our buddies over on that side of the state, it's just a lot easier and cheaper just to bring the RV, park it, plug it in, you know, a lot cheaper than a hotel. Gas mileage isn't that great, but it's still, believe it or not, cheaper than getting a hotel. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody joining here tonight. We do have the build for Chuck completed, which is build number 56 for 2025. It has posted, so that's always a good sign. That's usually when I say the build has made it past the first step. Of course, it has to pass all of its other tests and benchmarks, but for the most part, it's already on the good side of the fence. Thank you for the stream, Ben. You're welcome. I'll keep you posted. Yeah, just let me know if you have any questions. Also, Mike, we are going to have a significant change to the website in the next week. That change is going to be happening here. So if you see anything change, which I know there are things changing on that build that you're looking at from what it is now with the customization options that you have to something else, please let me know and I will customize it for you and send you the link to exactly what you wanted. Make sure you grab a screenshot of what you have selected now so you can just send that over to me and then I can build that out for you and send a link. Because the website is going to be changing in the next week or so. We have a massive change to the website that I've been working on. We're changing platforms off of WordPress because WordPress is just too slow. Every time you go to the website, everything is just sluggish and crap, and it's impacting our Google performance, our SEO performance. So we're gonna dump WordPress. Written down. Nice. Yeah, just let me know what components it is, and I'll make sure that we get you exactly what you had originally wanted. And we might even be able to get it for a better price if depending on how long you wait here. Because parts are slowing down. I'm starting to see a lot of inventory sit at stores. For example, Micro Center has a ton of graphics cards inventoried, and they are not moving. So that's usually a good sign for the market for the prices to come back down when things start sitting. Would you ever do a van life in the RV? No. No, I don't think I would. Onra, chat, hit the like button before leaving, please. And thank you, Onra, for reminding me. Yeah, not to mention getting tied with crappy empowered PC ick. Yeah, that's been a fun one. I don't know if you guys have been following my Reddit posts. I've been trying to keep up with people dissing empowered PC and trying to explain that I'm not the same company, just to make sure, you know, the brands are separated in those conversations. I don't want people to think, like, go and post something bad on our Google or Facebook and review us based off of empowered PC. That has happened already. So, fun. Roy, going for it. Mike, if you decide you get a 9070 XT, make sure you get the one with a 3 power connector, not the 2. The boost is actually max clock speeds. More watts equals better speeds. Ask me how I know. Well, we'll make sure we get him a 3-cord 9070 XT. Yeah, he is. They are on YouTube. They're a much larger organization than me. I'm literally just a dude in a shop, and I build PCs on YouTube, and you know, it's a lot of fun. We have a community on Discord, obviously, and I don't know. I don't see myself ever getting to that level of cookie cutter. It's just too much cookie cutter for me. I think custom PC building should be custom PC building. We build custom for the person. My website now is about as cookie cutter as it's going to get. I just don't want to get much more cookie cutter than that. And even so, we still use, you know, quality components in all the systems. We don't use junk. Not saying empowered PC does, but it's all cookie cutter. Like, here's a build that I built for $1,300 and I'm selling it for $1,800, and I'm making a $500 profit margin, and blah blah blah. It takes the fun out of it. It becomes a enterprise at that point. I guess is what I'm saying. You know, maybe one day we'll have a shop and we'll have quite a few builders on building. You know, I want to keep that personal touch to all the builds. Now I want cookies. Till I reads some claims about it. I was looking at one of them. Oh, nice. till I read some claims on it. But yeah, there's a lot of reviews that also, you know, come my way. I get a lot of phone calls for Empowered PC as well, which is funny. Not nice. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm trying to be respectful as much as I can. I know I'm not the same size as them. I'm much smaller, but technically I was here first with the name. Yeah, you can be. I don't have to be. This is why I'm going with you. Oh, thanks. Alright guys, go get some cookies, Chuck. I will let you know when your PC is ready to go on Monday. And without further ado, guys, I will see you probably next week. At this point, I am going to heal up, finish being sick, wait for the next build to come in, because we actually don't have another build outside of the open loop and some other custom stuff that we're working on, but nothing really spectacular for a build stream. So, next stream might be a little different. We might be doing something different. It's a little slow right now. Last week, I could have gone with iBuy or Skytech. Thank you for the stream, Ben. Feel better. Enjoy the weekend. Wedding. Oh, thank you. Be safe, bro. We will. And thank you for joining and hanging out. We appreciate all of you here at the Empowered family. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you on the next stream, which should be... I haven't decided when it's going to be, but Tuesday probably is the most likely day since we are skipping out on Saturday. So we'll see you probably on Tuesday. Have a good night, guys. Take care. Hope you feel better, man. Have a good night. And you too, Jesse. Take care, some giant idiot. Thanks for hanging out.